A man loses interest in a woman the minute she tells him what? Is a video that I did on May 10th. And on Facebook, that video has created a huge conversation, over 6,000 comments and over 1 million plays. Now, in that video, I expressed everything very concisely, but it seems to be some levels of misunderstanding. And over the next 3 days, I will talk about the main 3 issues. Today, we will talk about compromise. Many women in those conversations were saying that this man is unwilling to compromise, and compromise is a vital piece of a relationship. And if he's unwilling to compromise on these things, and he just wants things his way, he must be egotistical, he must be controlling, he must be a narcissist. Evidently, they weren't listening to the aspect of the conversation to where I said that there's the 80-20 rule, meaning that 20% of what a person does makes up 80% of your happiness, and 20% of what a person does makes up 80% of your unhappiness. Now, men have standards and women have standards. But it seems to be that when a man has standards and he maintains those standards, he's considered to be egotistical, narcissistic, and controlling. When a woman has standards, she is said to be strong and independent. There is a double standard, yet I care not for the double standard. Because let me put it to you in this way. If a woman has a standard that a man must not be physically or mentally abusive, that a man must be an earner, that a man must be a protector, and a man must be a nurturer of the relationship. If a woman has those things as her standard, would you ask that woman to compromise on those standards? If she says she doesn't want a drug user, if she says she doesn't want a smoker, should she have to compromise on those standards? But when a man has his standards, as I have mine, then I'm being controlling and egotistical. When I'm simply recognizing that there are certain aspects that must play a part in a relationship in order for me to function properly. You see, I cannot be nurturing. I cannot be a protector. I cannot be a leader. I cannot be happy in a relationship where we are presenting ourselves in such a way financially or with children, which are the other 2 subject matters we'll talk about on the next 2 videos, if they are not done in such a way that I'm able to function. Now, what that means is, if you are a woman who believes that I must compromise those things, then we are not compatible. It's really that simple. To take it to a realm where you begin to say that I'm controlling is the same way I could say that, well, if you don't allow a man to beat the hell out of you, because a man beating you is something you won't compromise on. If you say that, if I tell you that you have to compromise on a man who is not an earner, and you need to compromise, otherwise you're being controlling, you're being narcissistic, you're being egotistical, that doesn't work, right? You would say no to that. You would say that those are your standards. And it is simply the same thing for me as a man. You see, compromise is something that you do on those 80% of things that does not create the overwhelming majority of your happiness. You see, how a house is decorated is one of those things I will compromise on. Here, decorate the house however you want to. I could care less. I have 1 or 2 rooms that I actually may care about. That will be my meditation room and outside. Those, you can do whatever you like. Compromise on small things, well, things that are, to me, that are small, is something that I am I welcome. But see, we would never get to the point of a relationship where there are those things that we need to compromise on because we may have a difference of opinion. If we cannot come in alignment with the things that are major to me, that are of my standard. You see, the way money is utilized in a relationship and set up in a relationship, for me, I have my preference. If you are a woman whose preference is different than mine, that's fine. I'm not saying you cannot have that. You are more than welcome to have that in your life. And many women have different ones. Some women want to split the bills. Some women want the man to pay for everything. Some women want whoever makes the most money to pay for the majority of the bills. Some people want to be able to stash their cash and have their personal emergency. Others want to have it the other way. They don't want to be able to do that. It's up to you. I really don't care. The thing about it is, when it comes to being with me, I have a certain program that has been successful for me and in my relationship. It is not for someone else to determine what I should do when it comes to that. It is not for someone else to determine how I should respond or react to the situation of children, whether they are our biological or it is a blended family. Those are my standards. My standards of beauty are my standards. My standards of how we live, how we vacation, the car we drive. Those are my standards. Now, some of those are not that important to me. Would I want to vacation broke as hell? No, I'm not. But do we compromise? Long as we're staying in this level hotel or this level Airbnb, pick whichever one you want. I could care less. What part of town we're staying in, whatever is most acceptable to you, I don't care. There's only sometimes through logic that we have to compromise. For instance, when me and Angelina was taking our cross-country motorcycle ride, the only thing I said is 4-star hotel and above. And while we're going west, I would like to stay either downtown or on the west side of the city so that when we leave, we're not dealing with traffic. Wherever else we stay, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do on that front. So those are things that you don't have to, you compromise on. You state what you would like, they state what they would like, and you find the middle ground. But when it comes to certain other things, there is no compromise. There is what you desire. There is your standard. There were a lot of women who were saying that, oh, he's talking about money, he's talking about kids, he's talking about, these other subject matters, but I never heard him mention God. Here's the thing. To some people, you must be in the same worship, and that is your standard. Is it for me to tell a woman that if you believe in the Christian version of God or the Muslim version of God or the Hindu version of God, that you have to compromise your spiritual beliefs to be with a man who has different spiritual beliefs? You would say no. Majority of women would say no. And the majority of men would also say no. I have a pathway that I follow. And if a person is following a different pathway, I have learned over time trying to mix those creates underlying problems. The problem may not be the spirituality on the surface, but it creates underlying problems where they get personified to be greater than they should be, simply because that part is an irritation between one or both of the parties. I don't know what that bug was. But the fact remains is that if that is a standard that you have as a woman or you have as a man, you should not have to compromise that standard if it is vital to you being able to function properly in a relationship, to be nurturing, to be loving, to be supportive, to lead or to follow, whichever position you take, to earn, to deal out a budget, to raise children. If that is at the forefront, then that should not be compromised. And that doesn't make you egotistical. That doesn't make you a narcissist. That does not make you controlling. That makes you a very mature person who knows exactly what they desire in life and what's most important to them. They have done the introspective work to know themselves. And since they know themselves, they know what works for them and what does not work for them. And that is a mature person who is ready to enter into a relationship. If you're saying that a person or a man in most instances of that conversation must compromise, basically you're saying I'm controlling and I want him to compromise to me, to make me happy, because it's all about me. You're selfish, you're insecure, you're not prepared for a relationship if you don't understand how to only go after what works for you and your top 20. And y'all have a great day. I see you on part 2 tomorrow. Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.